The truth is, for you to win in a recession, it starts with these 5 steps. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world and everybody's getting hit by it in a different way. For example, tech stocks down 80%.
High inflation impacts everyone's finances.
We have currencies collapsing 30%. And no matter where you look, there are financial challenges. And as we all know, those financial challenges transpire into so many other areas of our lives. Maybe it's putting pressure on your personal relationship. Maybe it's putting pressure on your mental health. Really, the goal here is to help you get back on a strong path, to get back to conquering, get back to making progress. And before we dive in, just to give you a little bit of context for myself, I run a crypto hedge fund, I run a metaverse venture fund, and naturally the crypto markets caved in to the turn off, 60, 70, 80, 90%. It should have been a really bad year for me, but sometime in the middle of the year, I followed these 5 steps. I kind of took a pause and said, okay, what's the roadmap here? What's the game plan? How do we get back up? I'm happy to say that despite this crazy year, we're now officially managing more money than we were at the very, very peak of the bull market. And so, I followed those steps and used them to both guide myself and my team kind of out of this dark hole where many other funds are still stuck. And we're back now at the top of our game, both mentally, physically, emotionally, of course financially with the fund, right? There's more room to go, but we've at least kind of gotten our momentum back. And if that's all I come today, helping you kind of find clarity and get your momentum back, I think was a success, because ultimately, I talk to so many people every single day, again, whether it's some of my followers, my investors, my founders, and I think there's a lot of pain right now just because of what's happening in the world. And so I want to find your strength again. The very, very first thing you need to do is to force space, right? Because the problem is, when everything is going well, you can always take space. You can always, take an hour and go for a walk. You can always take an hour and journal. But, when shit is hitting the fan and when things seem to be crumbling all across the board, the last thing we do is take time for ourselves. And so the most important thing you can do as a step number 1 is to literally maybe go for a walk without your phone, maybe take a journal with your notepad, and just force that space to make everything slow down and make everything stop so that you can start thinking clearly again. Because that was something really important that I did towards the end of Q2, where I said, look, there's all these battles happening, right? Life can feel like a battle where you have one business struggle here, one business struggle there, maybe a personal struggle there, some personal financial issues, taxes are coming up, right? All these things can happen at the same time. And so step number 1 is to force that space to create clarity, right? So you're going somewhere where there's no distractions, there's no other people, nobody asking anything from you, where I will not check emails, I will not check the markets, I will not do any of these things. It will just be me. And if there's someone that needs me, you let them know ahead of time, go for a quick walk, leave my phone behind, and you start actually writing down all those battles that you're facing right now, right? What are all those things that require your attention? What are all those fires that are currently burning that are causing the stress that you're feeling? And you list them down one by one by one by one by one. Maybe the list is short, maybe the list is long. Sometimes a short list with important things can be more stressful than a long list with a lot of tiny things. Just find out what's true for you. And that's where we then get to step number 2. And step number 2 is for you to consolidate. Consolidation can come in multiple forms, but the first one I would say is, if this is a war that's currently going on in your life, understand that war is made out of many battles. And so you have to ask yourself, what are some battles that I am willing to lose? What are some battles where I say, what? Either there's no chance of me winning this, or I don't care if I lose this battle. And if it's one or the other, then you purposefully cut them off and you remove all resources from them. Maybe you have 20 employees and 15 of them are all-stars, and then 5 of them are causing a lot of headaches and issues and they aren't doing their job. Then maybe, and that's, maybe it's a political correct, but that's then your signal to let go of them. The bottom line is that if there's too much going on, if your list from step 1 is too long, practice triage. Cut the things out that aren't working, that you don't think have a good chance of coming back, re-earning their right of taking up that time, of taking up those resources. Which then brings us to step number 3, and that is to focus on core battles. Right around Q2, we had a big infrastructure overhaul at my firm, where we did a lot of nice to haves that weren't exactly urgent. From I hired a writer to have a blog that goes out every week. Nice to have, but is that really the best time for me to spend my time, reviewing blog posts? No, we cut it off. And I figured there's really only 2 things that really matter. If you really boil it down, how a fund works, it boils down to 2 things: performing and bringing money in. So if the things I spent my time on does not move the needle on one of those 2 things, I will not do it. I really made it my core, pure focus to really focus on performance. And we've had one of the worst quarters in Q2, and I'll fully admit that. But then we had this massive comeback where we've outperformed virtually anybody in Q3 and Q4 so far. That's enabled us to get that wind back in our back. And guess what? When the performance slowly picks up, that was this big domino for me where I said, look, the most important thing right now is performance, because if you have bad performance, nobody's investing with you. If you have bad performance, the whole building crumbles. And so I realized that is the core pillar. And so back to you, it's important, what is that one thing you just cannot lose? And you deploy all your energy, your focus, and also your money, your resource behind making sure that gets done well and as soon as possible. And then as you win this war piece by piece by piece, you accomplish really two things. One, you create momentum for yourself and your team, and you start getting that excitement back, that inspiration. When I'm in a crisis mode, like my energy goes up because I know that not only do I need it now more than ever, but also I know that every ounce of energy gets me 10 times the results in bad times as in good times. Why? Because nobody else is competing. And that then takes us to step number 4, and that is that you need to align behind a vision. And so that if you work for yourself or you're sole founder, then that means you need to have a clear vision for yourself that not only gets you out of bed, but also tells you very exactly, does the action I currently pursue help materialize the vision? Yes or no? But beyond that, if you do have a team, this is even more important. And I put so much effort into this at a time where every single week I would write almost like a war speech to my team, where I would write out these long paragraphs saying exactly, this is what needs to happen. This is why it needs to happen, and this will be the outcome if we do it, right? And get them excited, get them motivated. Because, everybody is having losses, right? Even in the personal accounts, analysts are probably losing money. They're probably not as excited as they were in a bull market. So important for you to create that vision, right? Make them see it, make them feel it, make them taste it, so that they're not like, he's right. This is what we need to do. Let's not fuck around. Let's get right back in it. And there, it's also ironic where I think it's even more important as a leader, as an employer, as a boss, whatever you call yourself, to actually spend money on supporting a team. What I did, for example, in the bear market for the first time, we had 2 team retreats where I made sure to fly out the whole team, even from Dubai and Germany, from all corners of the world. The first time, we rented out a mansion, and then we had, retreat programming like, yoga sessions, breathwork sessions, team bonding, and so forth. And then the second time, we explored New York together, took them to a Broadway show. All these small things were generally, those are the first things to get cut when financial times are tougher. And so then the way companies look when financial times are tough, 1, energy is down, 2, motivation is down. There's nothing to be excited about. And so they're just dragging around. It's so much more important for you to actually say, you know what, this is the best time right now actually to spend money, not just on myself. In fact, I cut spending on myself, but then increase the amount of money and energy and effort I spend on my team members so that they know that, look, even the worst times, they are safe. And that takes us to step number 5. If it is somehow possible for you, this is the time to expand. And I know this is counterintuitive because many would say, look, we're already running our operation paycheck to paycheck. I already don't know how to pay for taxes. I know there's a lot of unknowns out there. There's a lot of challenges out there. But if you follow step 1 through 4 and you find that momentum back in your tail, it's so important to find a way to somehow expand. This week, Meta went on a fire when they had another awful earnings report, and investors wrote a letter saying Meta platforms should cut off their entire metaverse vision. Now, you can cut failing departments, but cutting out this entire vision for the future is perhaps the worst thing that Meta could do. Is it bad for the balance sheet this year? Yes, 100%. But is it the one thing that will probably keep them in business in the future and keep them relevant? I think the move into the metaverse and XR is perhaps the most important thing for the entirety of Meta's future, for the entire next 20 years of Meta. In my eyes, they're making the right decision when they say, look, even if it's a bear market, even if our stock is crashing, we will keep expanding. We will suffer this year, we might suffer next year, but then we make a huge leap ahead of everybody else. And even if you don't like Meta, I'm not a big stock fan, I make fun of stock all the time. But even if for your own business, you might say, look, we wanted to launch another product, we wanted to hire more people, we want to do this, let's just do it some other point. You should find a way somehow to still push forward if you're even halfway there. Every single inch of expansion you do in a recession, in a bear market, is like, a whole feet in a bull market. Drop your 5 down in the comments, tell us, what is maybe like some battles you're facing and what is your plan of attack? And maybe how can I or how can the community help you, right? I'm not gonna write checks right now, but I'm certainly here to read your feedbacks and see how maybe I can give a piece of advice if I was in your shoes. Because ultimately we're all here together and I want you, as part of my earliest community that are watching these videos to succeed. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them down in the comments. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you know somebody that's currently going through such craziness, share the video with them because I think it might help them.